there may be pushback on AI because people are frightened of losing their jobs because they don't see that as an option. They think, if I automate all of this with AI, I lose my job.
And some people will. There's just some things that happen that are going to be automated to a point where it's done as well or better than a person can do it. And I think I might have already mentioned, like, what I told you yesterday is different in an hour. So we've got to make sure we're on top of that as well. But that is more about still the 80-20 rule. And one of our core values is always be on the better side of 20. So it's really easy for me to talk in those 80-20. But if 20% of your job is what you love doing, and a lot of the rest of it is either monotonous or just something I have to do, well, you don't have to do that. There's automation, there's AI learning that's going to get better and better for us to be able to have that more monotonous part of your position not be something you have to do. And it's going to help us scale.
Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard. Each week, Jason sits down with successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives and get them to share how they mastered the delicate balance between rapid growth and enduring success in the business world. How can we quickly build a profitable business that stands the test of time and becomes our legacy? A legacy we're proud of. Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fastlane Founders and Legacy. I'm Jason Barnard, and a quick hello, and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Michael Davern.
Thank you, Jason. I can promise you this is the first time I've ever been serenaded as an intro into a podcast.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people say that to me. And the nice thing is that I started doing this in 2019. So that's 6 years I've been singing the intro. And I recently became the lead singer in a band, and I've got better at singing. So if anybody listens to the very first episode and then this one, even in that short piece of singing, I think I've got better.
So we don't need to go into chat and start a custom GPT for voice coaching?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I hope not. But some people may disagree. They might say, actually, you sing in tune, but I don't like the style, and I could learn some style. But that's not the point of the show today. The point of the show is end-to-end AI marketing enablement, how to use AI for your marketing efforts within your company. And Michael, you were saying that you use your own AI on your own company and then help your clients with that. So this is processes that you've created that you know work. And it's what we do at CaddyCube, is that we apply to ourselves what we're advising our clients to do. So when we're optimizing a brand for Google and AI, it's things that we've done either for myself, Jason Barnard, or the company CaddyCube. But before we get into that, I'll show you some brand SERP. This is your brand SERP. When we search Michael Davern in Google, you don't come up.
No, there's far more important people with the same name out there, man.
Well, that's it. Well, the guy who does come up as a public figure is a scientist of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on Google Scholar. That's very powerful. So relatively speaking, Google is going to think he's more famous than you are out of the box because he's on Google Scholar. And it isn't that he's more famous, it's that Google understands him better. Recognized in his field. And so I then added your company name, Incept, and there I get you. And I think that's what people do, is if I don't get you the first time, I'll add your company name if I know it, and then I do get the result. But if I may, I really think you need a knowledge panel there on the right-hand side to make yourself look the way you deserve, which is a super expert in AI marketing.
I don't disagree with you at all, Jason.
So we're going to pick your brains on AI marketing. The first thing is, what do you mean by AI marketing? Because my initial research, I actually misunderstood. So please go ahead, define yourself.
It goes everything from process to all the way from automating tasks that we no longer should be worrying about to really going through getting deeper into insight, research, building strategy, content, planning, supporting tactics, execution, optimization, measurement, reporting, all the things we do in marketing. But where can we get some enablement to help us along? And that's really where it is to help us along. There's a lot of back and forth on the AI piece that especially since we were allowed to talk about it officially. What was it, last January, January 1 of 24? Suddenly we got to talk AI. We didn't have to say automation or machine learning. We could start saying, oh yeah, we've been doing this forever. And this was an automated task that we could take care of. And that's kind of, I think, going back, what's AI and what's not. Automation and workflow is not necessarily AI. You can add AI elements into the mix.
Right. No, so we'll stop there so everyone can breathe and say what you were saying there was that we weren't allowed to say AI. And there was a whole kind of debate about what's machine learning, what's automation, what's AI. And there were lots of picky people getting really annoyed about using the wrong term in the wrong place for whatever reason. And now we can just say AI encompasses the whole lot. We don't need to worry about that distinction between automation, ML, and
Right.
AI. And I think that that's liberating. I think you're right. And I hadn't really thought about it like that. But you've just given me a huge long list of all the things that I could do. And I'm the boss of a company. I don't do these things all day long. I've got a head of marketing and I've got a marketing team. Where do I start as the boss? Where do I start to look into this? Say, well, how can I guide my team towards something that's going to help the business?
Start really easy with some workflow and some things that you're doing routinely that you know that you don't have the time or should be spending the time to do. Explore where you can get some help. That doesn't mean that we just put everything necessarily on autopilot. It might mean that we're going to add some AI sidekick, I might call it, into the enablement of the workflow so that it's learning more and helping get more efficient and even getting to mastering how you're speaking with your AI and your prompts, letting your AI train you on some things as well and giving you notifications when there's a kink in the workflow or something that you can improve. And that really is getting some reps will come quick because what most people who start even just playing around for the first time find, beyond all the things we do, like just asking questions and doing research and, every week there's a new update to every platform. So that could be video creation or image generation. So we all go and play around with those kinds of things. But it kind of comes back to, I might have needed a year to hone in this process. Now maybe I need a couple of weeks or a month. I've saved a lot of time. And then I'm going to move on into that piece about what tasks can't I put on autopilot, but I could really use an intern for or an entry-level team. And then it's about enabling training your AI agent of choice about who they are, what you want from them, and what kind of those more entry-level tasks they could be helping with. Research is really a good place to start.
Right.
And it's the building blocks.
You're saying building blocks. So you start with identifying the things that it can do. And then you build the blocks so it can do it. And you start with the simplest things. And a good way of thinking about it from a CEO's perspective is entry-level intern stuff.
And I know that a lot of us in the game, we're talking about our AI being an entry-level intern more like 18 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. But it's more comfortable to start with something that's familiar. And that is oftentimes what would I have an intern or an entry-level employee doing?
Okay, which is brilliant. I think one thing that we tend to forget is AI has been in our lives for years and we're very used to it. And we have the impression that if we're not doing the cutting edge stuff, we're losing out. But in fact, 6% of corporations in America are actually using AI in any meaningful manner in the business. So 94% of people are still sitting there thinking, how do I use this? And they can't make that leap. And I think I found one of the nicest things I did was set up my own custom GPT on ChatGPT, gave it instructions. One of those instructions was, don't be nice to me, be critical when I'm saying idiotic things and tell me how to help you help me. So give me instructions when I prompt you badly. And that taught me a lot about how to talk to the machines and what the machines are capable of. Would that be a good starting spot, is for me to understand better?
Absolutely. And that's where, when you get into the settings of whatever platform that you're using, is they're going to vary in terms of how specific you can make those hard settings. And then as conversation goes and learning goes, you can instruct it. So I would say I've had the skepticism filter turned on in ChatGPT for as long as I could. But as my agent gets more and more familiar with my style and the interactions that we have, even just yesterday, I got back, can I really be forward with this? Like, can I actually take the gloves off and throw down with you? I'm like,
Mm.
absolutely. And that's the conversational level that I have with my chat agent right now. And
Right.
then I get some real good feedback. And just like anything, we don't all love to hear about things that we could improve upon, but we learn a hell of a lot more from things we should improve than things that we're winning and doing.
Yeah, and being told by a machine that doesn't have a soul or a personality and we don't have to like it and it doesn't have to like us is easier than if you told me I was doing everything
Well, and
right.
we're not talking to a person, so we don't get all of the body language and things that could actually elevate our reaction
Yeah.
to constructive criticism either. So
Yeah, which is really, really nice. So I think once we as entrepreneur CEOs, top level in the company, understand how it can help us just with a conversation and researching and saying to the machine, find this out, research this. And I've been using deep research with Google Gemini, where it goes and crawls the web and tries to find an answer, and it gives this huge answer that's way too long. Once we get used to that ourselves, it's easier for them to help the marketing team. So give me some pragmatic examples of starter points where people can implement AI in marketing that you've typically seen and been able to implement for your clients.
So we've talked about research already.
Yeah.
It's an incredible time saver. So whether you're utilizing deep research within Gemini, whether you're utilizing deep research within ChatGPT, and again, kind of a quick aside is that you asked about our starting point. My also really strong recommendation is pick one and go with it. Just spend some time and get some reps within one platform. So not only is it learning and continuing the conversation and just building on the knowledge and getting to know you and your style, or a caveat to that, your counter style, which we'll get back to. But when we look at that and then know that's where we're heading, it's pick the one. So then I'm pretty solid in, and we talked about this in the pre-call in ChatGPT. You're very dedicated and really committed to Gemini, which is great. We're both getting very similar places with what we're comfortable with and what we built.
Mhm.
But that's the part is the research is testing. Test and see what it can do, then test the sources, look at everything and say, are you actually being accurate? And then once you get enough reps to know, okay, cool, you're accurate. And now I've created maybe a project. So now all of the learning and memory sits here in this place with this topic that we're talking about. We can build on that and add to the research. But when I talk about research, I'm talking about what we might need to do to get to know a client, or what a CEO might need to go to know about but maybe that's a prospective big client, or even just their marketplace. Maybe you're in your position for the first time. You've got a lot of reps running an organization, but you maybe might be a little bit light on the industry knowledge. Those are the places that will really shine to help build it up. And then you can parse it down into talking points and really get it boiled down. And one thing I can say, my chat agent is probably pretty verbose, but it pointed out to me that it's verbose because it called me out on a 34-minute talk into it a few weeks ago. And it was, well, Mike, but to be fair, our last interaction was 5.5, but your longest with me was like 34 minutes and some amount of seconds. But sometimes it's that part of it is the conversational aspect. So that's the number 2 is don't forget to be human and conversational with the AI that you're using, because you're going to get more human conversational back. So you're going to get the work that maybe it would have taken 30 hours to do the research, that a deep research project, say when chat first launched, it might have taken 15, 16, 20 minutes to come up with. And now it's taking 2 minutes to come up with something as in depth. But part of that is those building blocks, like I talked about. You're not just going to walk in to an experience with AI and get everything you want from it.
Yeah.
And as probably you're in the same position, we learned that because we've gotten so much learning and education in that building block, now we get to the point where we get to say less and still get good results, because it's learned what it is that we're expecting from it. But that part of it, the research, is a huge, huge piece. Competitive analysis, a part of the research, and tying it in, building comparison chart. I like to see everything lined up for me so that when I ask, I want you to check this and these sources about this particular topic or problem, but I also want to do a comparison about how my competitors are doing it, what they're focusing on, what a tool that I'm exploring, what are all the options. So it really takes what we might have been doing for even an internet search and having to silo everything and then bring it all together. It's
Right.
taking all of those data points, bringing it all together in the way you ask it to, and you are so much further ahead from insight. And at least from our perspective at Incept, we're sharing that information with clients as we're talking through a project. Is that, yep, I actually wouldn't have been able to have this to you for 2 weeks, but because we did this, and this, I got it to you and we're meeting about it 3 days later. So not only is it topical and pertinent, so whether it is getting a process in place, whether it's doing research for a deal to happen, whether it's trying to close a new client, if you're in our world, time kills everything. And this is an incredible time saver. So that is that next building block, is that proof of concept about reliable results in a faster period of time so we can do more with what we're offering out to the world.
The word reliable result, that's key. Because hallucination, which is when the machines make stuff up or get it wrong.
Right.
How do you make it more reliable?
I think it's got to do really, Jason, with the learning. So if we kind of go back to the analogy of the intern or entry level employee, if we have a tight job description and really set expectations, and then we allow that intern or employee, or in this case, the AI agent you're using, to get more and more and more reps. Reps is what gets us to where we want to be. No different than marketing and life, really. It's about the number of times that we need to do something to perfect something. We just have a tool that can help us get that to scale at a much more rapid pace. And as we get those reps, the reliability is there, because we've both been in a situation, I'm sure, where like, no, that's not everything. And I know it's not. You missed something here. And then that is a trainable moment where, again, I guess because it's not human, we don't have to be as nice as we might need to be for interns or employees. I didn't say that. But it can be like, no, you missed the mark. I went and checked your work and you missed X, Y, and Z. That might have been me 5 or 6 months ago on some topics. I don't get that anymore because we're at the point where it's not there. But it is making sure you've got your checkpoints, because if you let your AI take everything over without getting it where it needs to be, you will be wrong 80% of the time.
Right. I mean, what I'm hearing is there's a lot of work training the model. And so you look at that and you say, okay, I need to treat this like training my dog.
Yep.
It takes time. It has to go back. We have to keep doing it. We have to check that it's right. And the training takes time. But once the dog ChatGPT AI is trained, it's incredibly helpful. And I think one mistake people make is to leap in and expect those brilliant results right after.
That's right.
Saying, create me a LinkedIn profile, a LinkedIn post. And the AI isn't particularly inventive. It sounds like AI. And that problem comes from lack of training.
And competitors of ours who are doing that right now will take care of the market themselves, because they're not going to be in business anymore. And just like if we go into a client and anyone, any entity, any person that's full on using AI for everything that they do is in trouble, because they're not going to get everything they need. You're going to lose the human touch. I almost look at it as, if you've got the reps, you've actually got your AI letting you be more human, because the 20% of what we shine doing and love doing, we get to do more of.
Yeah.
And that really is where we want to get people, is that, like, why would you not want to love almost 100% of what you're doing and versus only 20? Let's just amplify that 20 that makes you you. Yeah. And this is an incredible tool, regardless of the platform, to be able to do that.
Yeah, which is a brilliant point, but it actually brings me to a rather negative point, which is there may be pushback on AI because people are frightened of losing their jobs because they don't see that as an option. They think, if I automate all of this with AI, I lose my job.
And some people will. There's just some things that happen that are going to be automated to a point where it's done as well or better than a person can do it. But when we look at, I'm going to pick on my world, and I look at my team, and everyone is in our ChatGPT team account. Everyone has expectations. We have policy, which is always evolving because the technology we're using is evolving. I think I might have already mentioned, like, what I told you yesterday is different in an hour. So we've got to make sure we're on top of that as well. But That is more about still the 80-20 rule. And one of our core values is always be on the better side of 20. So it's really easy for me to talk in those 80-20. But if 20% of your job is what you love doing, and a lot of the rest of it is either monotonous or just something I have to do. Like I don't know any proper digital, let's say media strategist who loves doing reporting. They like strategizing and executing and seeing what happens, but putting it all together and having to hit that deadline, that's
Yeah.
challenging. Well, you don't have to do that. There's automation, there's AI learning that's going to get better and better for us to be able to have that more monotonous part of your position not be something you have to do. And it's going to help us scale. So what I see more of, and I'm just being real about this, is it's going to slow down our need to add FTEs in my world if we get a brand new account, because my chat agent, for instance, is a team of 7 people wrapped into one. We've gone from intern to I've got a team of 7 people. And the lead is a reflection of me, which is great. Won't be great for everybody, but that's what works for me. And as we then help enable our team to use it, they're building out a sub team. So then it's going to be a very weird, like, how many people are in your agency? Well, it's 15, but it's really more like 50. What do you mean by that? Well, because of the enablement, I can come to market. I can now offer you this kind of cool pricing plan that's a flat rate, because we're going to really focus on outcomes and not on hours, because none of us want to do our timesheets anyway. That's another thing that no one in an agency or an attorney or anyone who's working in the hours of time against projects, we'd love to all get away from that. That's where we're headed. And I think it's more about the adoption, and not everyone's going to be on the same page. But Jason, as we all know, looking at my business, I only need a tiny little sliver of everyone to be successful for myself, my company, and my employees.
That's a brilliant way to end it. Thank you so much, Michael. That was great. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm taking a lot away from this, and definitely AI feels to me like something I'm increasingly comfortable with from an execution perspective, because at CaddyCube, we're actually educating the AI from the outside, which is a completely different angle on it. And ironically, I've actually been quite ill at ease using the AI to create content and to create reports and so on and so forth. But that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. You get the outro song as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
A quick goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Jason.
That was brilliant.
Take care.
Your corporate and personal brands are what Google and AI say they are. We can give you back control. CaddyCube.